following program on Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations. We would like to remind our viewers that the views expressed in this program by our participating guests are solely viewpoints of them who take part, and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network.
Welcome down to Gen XYZ right here on Derana 24. Well, today we bring to you a different flavor of things when it comes to talking about the taboo subjects. Well, this has been a concern with the majority of the youth in Sri Lanka. Well, this is just after O-levels and A-levels. What do we do with our lives? What are the careers that we actually choose? And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today with an amazingly astounded individual. Well, he actually is a family doctor. Not just that, he moved to London and then he decided to pursue in psychology. Well, he absolutely flew with colors in that range as well, then decided to come back to Sri Lanka and open an institution called the IRD. Now, this is a mega institution in Sri Lanka that has achieved so much success, and this is exactly why we've got him, because he's done it all and he's an all-rounder as well at the same time, knowing exactly what we need to do with our careers just after education. Well, this is, of course, Dr. Athula. Well, thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on board. Now, I obviously asked you in the beginning, should I address you as doctor because you're a family doctor, you're a psychiatrist, and now obviously, and you were like, no, I want to be addressed as a professor, and I love that because that tells so much that you have so much of a career span when it comes to knowing exactly what you've done. So,
yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this program, I think, which is very, very important considering the context of our country and what people are going through. I prefer to be called as a professor because I am not a very much practicing clinician as such. Yes, I have a family medicine background where I have dealt with families. I have a psychiatry background, so I do understand the mindset of the youth and the families, everybody in general. But I am an academic, as you mentioned, the IRD, the shortest form, Institute for Research and Development in Health and Social Care, which we started from scratch and develop into international institution. I'm very much interested about the subject because we do research on education side, and we do a lot of projects and interactions with younger generation as well. And being a psychiatrist, I do understand their psychology and the mentality, expectations, and also the frustrations as well. Yes. So they need guidance. I always say children has to be guided. It's not imposing on them, but they need some direction, facts. They are growing, so it's our duty. So to answer to your question, I suppose. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, Professor, obviously I have to ask you, you've had such a successful, rich, enriching career. You've done so much in the academy as well, and this is what you find passionate. Absolutely. You're very passionate about it. How was your journey like in finding that passion?
My journey, it's important. I always like to sort of cite my past, not to talk about me, but it's in a way, it's a good case study for anybody to understand. I do remember when I was a child, my father introducing me to others saying, this is my future doctor son. I never even dreamed of becoming a doctor. My passion was about engineering.
Engineering, okay.
Yes, I was, trying to build, tanks and toys and stuff like that. So, however, having said that, I think my father's guidance was absolutely right. I am very grateful that he guided me to become a doctor and then an academic. Yeah. Having said that, my advice to younger generation is, first of all, discover yourself. Be mindful, think critically. You don't have to think too much. Children, according to this great psychologist Piaget, children don't think more, they think differently. I cited Piaget because he's another interesting character. He never went to school, but he's one of the leading psychologists about child psychology. Do you know how he did it? He simply observed his 3 daughters.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Then he learnt a lot. To give you an example, he would put some coins on a row and ask which column, rows and columns, has the highest number of coins. So, the taller one, children would say that has the most, even though the numbers are less than in a row, because that type of, and again he would put water into a glass, 2 sizes glasses. So, with the development of brain, children think differently. So, he developed a lot of theories in this. So, children don't think more than us, they think differently. Sometimes children think the darkness is because they are sleepy rather than they are feeling sleepy. So, why I am saying this related to my past. So, I had a sort of dream, passion, but I listened to my parents. But I am not saying that everybody should do that. Children are very curious about things. So, their interests, so they dream even when they are very small children. I remember my brother saying, when my father asked who you want to be in the future, he said, I want to be a father.
A father?
So, that's the way he thought. I thought I want to be an engineer. So, people think differently, they observe, they have 5 senses, they see other people, they are relatives, they have their heroes. And particularly nowadays, there's a lot of television, internet. So, people get inspired by different things. And again, related to my past, at our age, when I was doing O-levels, A-levels, we didn't have much choice. You get the marks, you get the selection, either medicine, this, that, engineering. So, it's a narrow selection. Today, the good and bad thing, there are a lot to choose. Choosing from a lot is difficult than choosing from a limited. If I give somebody and say there are 3 things you can choose one, it's very easy. But if you give 100 things, so for the kids, the teenagers, the world is very different from our younger days. So there are a lot of choices. So coming to the subject, they have to be guided. That's what I say. Parents shouldn't impose, but it's a mix of how they should. Shall I continue or?
Yes. In the lines of when you mentioned that they have to be guided, I think I had a call with you as well, and you were like, what, it starts with grade 8. It starts with when they're very young as well at
Absolutely.
the same time. But the problem there is, as you mentioned, children think different. They don't know exactly what they're thinking. Because I, as a child, for example, I would want to be, the planes look very interesting.
Absolutely.
I want to be I want to work there. I want to be a pilot. But then I'd be like, oh, it's a doctor. It's very curiously interesting because he's cutting things and all of that. So yes, I want to be a doctor. So you're very discombobulated with that. But maybe that's not what you're really good at.
Absolutely.
So
you came to a
that?
very important thing. That's why I said at the beginning, my greatest advice to any child, kid, or even teenager, first discover yourself. Think about what you are passionate about. Also discover what you are good at. Also think about what interests in your life and try and build on that. At that age, when you are doing O-level, your decision making cannot be the final because it changes. To give an example, I have 3 daughters, very interesting, like Piaget. My youngest daughter used to tell me she wants to be a
Veterinarian, yes.
She was about 12, 13 and she would ask me whether I would give money for her to open a free animal hospital. I said, I'll give you half, you earn the other half, because we shouldn't make children too dependent as well. Support them is one thing, making them dependent in whatever the way is not right. So she said, okay, fine. So she went through a sort of journey changing her mind. She is one of the leading speech and language therapists in London now. So change. So things change because at the first sight you take decisions from the limited knowledge you have when children are small, and they may be attracted to their father or the mother or the teacher or a cartoon character, something like that. So they think, this is what I want to be. And it changes. It's not bad. That's learning.
Yeah.
So then they learn and then things change. So my advice to people who do O-levels, that age, we have a hunch, what we want to be. Say, for example, at that age, somebody might think, okay, I want to be a scientist. Becoming a scientist is a very, very broad thing. You can be a scientist in many different specialties. That's fine. Then you think, okay, I want to be a scientist, but what do I don't want to be being a scientist as well? I don't want to do research or anything on animals. So you leave it out. So basically, like we do grade 5, grade 6, grade 8, O-levels, and then develop your thinking, knowledge, expertise, skill sets. So you can have, you start here, you have a target, you want to go there. You can expand on it, learning laterally from what you see, what you hear, and it's not, one just thing. And again, my strongest advice to younger generation is always have alternative options.
Plan B.
Plan B,
Very important, yeah.
Because you may want to be somebody and you may not necessarily be in a position to achieve that as the first target.
Yeah.
You may have to take a convoluted path. Now, for example, I never even thought about becoming a psychiatrist. I was a family physician, but I had to go to London for different reasons, UK, temporary migration. Then my passionate commitment within my medical profession was working with people who have multiple physical complaints. That came under the rubric of psychiatry. So I had to become a psychiatrist, which I don't regret. So sometimes your target is there. Target might change a little bit. The path you reach there may not be a straight on a red carpet. You may have to earn it.
Yes.
And then you have to learn, think critically, revisit what you think about, talk to other people, not necessarily be, how do I say, take their advice 100%. It's a learning curve. You do it for yourself, but it should be an informed decision making.
Yes.
To give an example, say a child who has a lot of wealth inherited by the father, they don't have to think about money. You need money to live anyway. So my advice again, whether we like it or not, economic side, having a reasonable life. Money is not everything. That's the other message I want to convey, but you need money. But a son or a daughter who has a lot of wealth inherited, they don't have to think about money to reach. They can pay, they can go abroad. But a child coming from a disadvantaged community who don't have the means, that person may have to do hard work, earn that life. But remember, whatever you do, it's not, you have to make a commitment in life. Whatever you do, you have to make a commitment in life. And it shouldn't be, again, I'm specifically addressing to the youth, they have to think beyond themselves.
Yes.
You have a life, it's your life, you want what the best you need, but always think you are a person within a family, within a society, within a country, within this globe. You have to think about yourself, but it has to be always beyond yourself. That's what I believe. That's what made me a passionate academic. My satisfaction. So again, I'm trying to relate it to other people. Whatever you do, however hard it is, you should enjoy doing it.
Yes, exactly.
Then you don't consider it as a burden. Again, parents want children to do well, so they ask them to study this, that. Unfortunately, sometimes it has become a bit of a rat race as well.
Yes, yes.
Imposing too many things, tuition, this, that. It's in a way a burden to a young mind. I'm not supporting that concept at all. But it's a commitment you have to make.
Yeah.
You have to work hard to achieve whatever the person you want to be. So I spoke a lot.
No, absolutely great, Professor, because these are things that we need to hear as well, especially from an outstanding person like you, because you've gone through so much in life, you've achieved so much in life as well academically, and these are the connotations we need to listen to, especially finding our way through our careers and our life as well. So thank you so much for that. And we'll jump right into a brand new segment, giving you a little bit of something that you mentioned, which is O-levels. Now there are options in Sri Lanka, which and around the world as well, where you don't have to do A-levels. You can just do your O-levels and just save time. And there are things like that, which is because it's become a business, which we'll talk on the other end, of course. But with that, this is Gen XYZ you're tuned into right here, only on Other Derana 24. Welcome down to Gen XYZ right here on Other Derana 24. Well, we're in conversation with a very important individual. This is Mr. Athula, Professor Athula, sorry. But Sumathipala. I mean, this is a very important conversation we're having here as well, because it is with regards to finishing your O-levels, finishing your A-levels, and what's the next step? It's a very complex situation that you're going to actually be placed into, and that is exactly why we've got a person that really knows the academy. He really knows exactly what he has to do, and that is exactly why we want to ask him his opinion on how we can be guided to navigate our careers and choose what we want to in our lives. Well, with that, Professor, I obviously have to ask you, you mentioned something in the previous segment with regards to O-levels and A-levels. Education has become a little bit of a rat race. It's become a business, massive business in Sri Lanka as well, because our literacy rate is very high in Sri Lanka. As a small country, we do have a high literacy rate. But that has sort of made a lot of us to be business oriented, and we want to find fast track programs. So there is something called 1+1 program, 2+1 program, where you just do your O-levels, you're done, you can just jump right into a degree. You can fly out of the country, the next year as soon as you finish your foundation here. So there's a lot of things like that. But the problem is, if you want to choose something, say I want to do piloting, I want to do this, I want to be, a digital marketer, you can't choose that because it's not the thing that the businesses in Sri Lanka do, because now education is a business. The agencies would be like, no. The safest path for you is banking. The safest path for you is financing. Or the safest path for you is going to be in business. So do something like that, or biology, or it could be in those realms of things. Live the country in this way and it'll be successful. So you're prone to think that because your parents are going to be like, this is the safest way, this is what you should do, go for it. But that's not really the case, is it? Because it's throwing you into a rat race of a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, so you mentioned quite a few important things. I'll address one by one. So you mentioned about, sometimes you don't have to do A-levels, you do O-levels, and then, choose a career path.
Yes.
In fact, I have a nephew who did exactly the same. He did O-levels, he went to London and then did aircraft engineering. He's a very successful person now in Australia, but doing a completely different thing. So yes, that pathway is there, true. Mm-hmm. But the second most important thing I want to share is success is not a destination, it's a journey.
Yes, yes.
So when you talk about success, you have to define what a person think is success. For some person it may be money, some person it may be the career they are involved in, the passionate commitment, what they contribute back to knowledge. So it's very different. But as you correctly said, it's very crucial by the time you do O-levels, have to have some form of, motivation, thinking about a broader target. Unfortunately, as you said, right now education has become a business, which I don't totally agree. I'm a sort of great advocate of free education, but that doesn't necessarily mean people who can have money shouldn't make a contribution, that's fine. In fact, it can be a voluntary contribution. And again, I sort of don't like the idea of saying free education, somebody pays for it.
Yeah.
We do get free education, but taxpayers pay for it, your parents pay for it, you know, not everything is not free. Again, to the youth, I want to very clearly say it. Nothing you get is free, and people have contributed enormously, maybe your parents, maybe your ancestors, you know, past generations, they have contributed. Yes, people might say we are a bankrupt nation. I don't buy that. We are not a bankrupt nation. Technical terms, we have a lot of resources, we have intellectual resources. Sri Lankans do extremely well then when they go abroad. I'll come back to the theme, but you know, I don't want to sort of lose sight of what I want to say. I am a very proud Sri Lankan from head to toe. I have travelled, I mean, very few countries I have not travelled in this world. Wherever I go, wherever I speak to the audience, I say I am a proud Sri Lankan. I carry a Sri Lankan passport. So first thing, believe in yourself. Believe in the country which you have brought. A lot of people say, you know, this is a bankrupt country. They go, they sort of hate Sri Lanka. But the very same person who was brought up in this country get the opportunity to compete and climb the top in abroad. So how can we say the system is not right and all that? But again, what you have to think always, think about yourself, the strengths and the weaknesses, limitations you have. So by the time you do O-levels, sometimes you have to do certain subjects. It's a mix. You do science subjects, art subjects, whatever called, you do languages. By then you should have a reasonable idea of what you want to do for A-levels. Do I want to go in the science streams, or do I want to go in the commerce stream? And it's again, particularly in a market-driven society, you listen to television, there are advertisements, parents want you to do the best, so they would even sell their property and, you know, want. And in that genuine interest, people shouldn't get lost. People also think, again for the youth, this message, to be successful, we don't necessarily have to go abroad. I am not against people going, I mean, that's fine. But even within this country, there are a lot of things you can do. So don't think black and white, this or that. No future in this country, future is only abroad. My future is only if I become a doctor or a lawyer or businessman. No. There's a very, very wide subjects, things, disciplines, employment you can do. You can have formal qualifications. As you said, O-level go one direction, O-level, A-level go in another direction, O-level, A-level, postgraduate go in another direction. Whatever you do in whatever the field, you need a set of essential life skills. How to become a productive person, productive to yourself, productive to your immediate family, productive to the school who brought you up, productive to the university you graduated from, productive to the country you were born and nurtured. Even if you go to, I'm very grateful to Britain. I consider it as my second state, you know, I mean, Britain gave a lot to me, but my roots have always been here. So whoever who goes wherever, it's always remember, you know, you can't forget your parents, you can't forget your country, and your roots are there wherever you live. You mentioned about Institute for Research and Development, which I started when I was in London. That was my contribution back to the free education I got. I never forgot that, you know. In fact, to be very honest, I mean, most of my life, last 30 years, I was employed in Britain, but I was lucky to live in Sri Lanka based on my job there. And my contribution back for the nation is Institute for Research and Development, Health and Social Care, you know. We have at least 10 PhDs right now from Melbourne to States. It's earned, we are not paying, you know, it's scholarship. So my advice to younger kids, O-levels, have that broad thing. When you go for A-levels, you're sort of more focusing on a particular field. Whatever you choose and do it properly. Commit yourself. That's your primary thing. People who can't do that, people who can't get formal qualifications, still have a life. They can build on with skills. For example, we all talk about aeroplanes, development, aircraft, but Wright brothers were not aircraft engineers.
Elon Musk wasn't necessarily what he had to do.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So you have to be sort of very broad-minded about, what you want to be, what is your passion is. Somebody might think, if I have money, that's all I want. That's fine, that's his choice. But not making money at any cost shouldn't be the motive. So you think very broadly what you want to be, what you are good at, and all of us have certain skill sets we are born with, and try to enhance that and try and think what is most interesting for you. Don't get to the trend, and have this notion that I have to be so and so to be successful. The way they should think is, I have to discover myself. I have to think, what I will enjoy in life. I mean, a woman might think, a girl, I never want to do a job. I'll be a good housewife.
Yeah.
Very fine, like my wife. One of, her conditions, well, I never want to do a job outside home. She does about 5 jobs at home, isn't it? Cooking, looking after the kids. So that's their choice. But everybody should get the minimum good quality education, learning skills in life to live in a society, and others can pursue their technical expertise in certain fields and develop their life. That's how it should be. Within that, I always also would like to inculcate the idea, again, whatever you do, what we are trying to do is to gain new knowledge. That's what we do. So don't be a parrot. Don't just read and try to memorize.
But see, Professor, in the lines of that, right, because majority of the people, what they do is they memorize things, they do the paper, and that's it, right? That's also because finding your passion in life is not very easy. Finding what exactly you're good with as your skill set is not easy at all.
Absolutely.
And especially with the education system in Sri Lanka, for that matter, you have a commerce stream. That is all you can follow. You have an art stream, which barely many of the students actually can't really choose, because they're going to be like, you're going to be a failure if you choose that. And that's not even there anymore if you take it in the public realm of schools. There's only very limited, ranges of education you can actually follow through, streams. So how do you really find exactly, okay, this is what I want to do, this is my best skill. How do you find that? How do you find your passion?
Okay.
That is a difficult part.
I'll tell you exactly how you can do. Now, to be fair, education system in Sri Lanka is changing. We have contributed to, in fact, the IRD has produced a big volume of we published a journal called Gaveshana Trilingual. In that we brought up a volume discussing how it should be, and the current, the Ministry of Education is trying to say that. Again, having said that, the father of free education, C.W.W. Kannangar, had a vision.
Right.
It's not something which has failed. That's not the failure part. In fact, I delivered an oration about C.W. Kannangar memorial thing at National Institute of Education, which I researched a lot. And then in 1940s, his speech to the Parliament for 6 hours, I read it. He was very clear that as a language, everybody should learn English because it's an international language. It was not his notion that sing alone type of things. So language is very important. So the system is there, yes, but having said that, our education, university education had been restrictive. Again, it's changing. But what I want to tell, I know people, doctors who did medicine. You do the exam while you are waiting after A-levels to go to the university. I know people who have done IT degrees. After the intern, there was a time of graduation. To getting the interns, there was some time. So people were learning other things. I know doctors who have become very successful businessmen. In fact, don't practice medicine.
Right.
So formal qualifications doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with what you do in life, and you don't have to do it. You have other skills you can develop. I'm very reluctant to talk too much about myself. I write lyrics.
Okay,
yeah,
really?
I have written a very famous song after the war. I wrote Bedi Sitiya Athi, Abeda Keruwa Athi, Virasakawa Gini Vedunu Magaveradi, Kabali Vininam.
So these are all produced songs already?
Yeah, it's
Wow,
it's in the national
brilliant.
television with what do you call clips. It was a very famous. It's in Sinhala and Tamil as well. Somebody else translated it to Tamil. So I mean, lot of people have different skills. So while you do your formal education, you can enhance your other skills. I would advise every person to try and at least learn to play one musical instrument.
Yes.
Because scientist is a good artist as well. So you shouldn't dichotomize or black and white thinking, this is this is this is that. Knowledge is not, this is the other thing I hate, and I advise strongly to younger generation, break that petty ownership. Disciplines are not in squares. You have to cross disciplines. You have to learn different things. Now, to give a good example, we talk about information technology in a very narrow sense. I think it's something which we should discuss a bit more.
Yes, of course, Professor. I mean, it's very interesting. I found that, you being a professor, you've done family, medicine, you've done psychiatry. Now you're, what is it? You write songs as well. It's incredible, honestly. This is the kind of conversation we need to have, about finding your passion just after your O-levels or A-levels. So thank you so much. And with that, we'll bounce into more conversations with this right here, only on Gen XYZ. Don't forget, if you actually want to be a part of the show, well, this is an amazing location as well. It is brewed by Dilma. You should come by, have a cup of coffee. It's an absolutely brilliant aesthetic, very calming, and you can definitely come by and do your education and your study right here at this very location. With that, we'll jump right into a short commercial break. Welcome back to Gen XYZ right here on Other Derana 24. We're in conversation with Professor. Well, he's achieved so much in life, and this is Professor Athula Sumathipala. Thank you so much, sir, for doing this with us as well. We were in conversation with something very important that you mentioned before. You're a songwriter, which is brilliant to me. Being, a doctor of medicine, you practice medicine in family doctor, you're a psychiatrist, now you're a songwriter. It's incredible for me. So, which you mentioned, which is very important, you don't just stick to one box.
Absolutely.
You've got to break the box, you've got to do other things. So can you continue that conversation? Because it's very interesting.
Yeah, again, it's interesting. When I was in grade 6, 7, I had a friend called Piyal Samaravira. He's one of the great cartoonists now in Sri Lanka. So between subjects, what we used to do, we used to, get an exercise book cut into two, Chitrakatha, I write the thing, he draw the thing. And I know I know another person called Hemant Hevage, who's a doctor. I used to do some tuition when I was at the medical school to help people. So in between classes, what he would do, he would answer the question paper, then he write. I was thinking one day, asking, what are you doing? No, I'm writing an essay. So that type of, multi-talented people. Within everybody, I strongly believe they have certain different, many numerous skills. Unfortunately, every child who is born to me is a scientist. The very first day when they come out of mommy's tummy, they suck from mom's nipple and discover that when you suck, you get milk. That's a discovery. He's a scientist. If you give a toy to a child, they will dismantle it and say, what this, that. So unfortunately, world over, what education does in a way is try to kill that skill and try to compartmentalize people. My advice to younger generation is quite, they are challenging, they want to do things differently. Yes, do it. The way you should do is constructively, believe that you have different skills, pursue them while you have a specific target for making a living. Develop that, football, cricket. I used to play cricket, I used to do scouting. Do a sport, have friends, enjoy life, which we did in our days, not now. So that's the full life. They are energetic. It's very important to sleep, eat well, play, get breaks, and do it and reshape your life, knowing on one hand you have to be realistic, you have to make a living, you have to do something to live, support your wife, children in the future, parents, look after, you need some money. Then enjoy life by doing something you want. You can be an entrepreneur and you can be generous by doing social services while making money. Or you can be a scientist. I strongly advise, because we need, I was coming to that and I got a little bit deceived. What we do is actually using existing knowledge. That's what we do. But that is possible because some people actually develop new knowledge through research. So we have a moral and ethical obligation to contribute back, doing research in whatever the field you are engaged in. When I say research, sometimes people think it's only the laboratory you do research. No, the farmers do research day to day. So think critical mind is very important. As you said, not just learning. My advice to people who do O-level, A-levels, don't just read, make your short notes, think about it. If you're given a sum, you analyze it and try to develop a sum and share with your friends. I used to do that when I was doing the tuition, I would use the geometrical diagram and develop the sum. So use experimental methods in studying and things like that. And again, you might choose a job, you have a formal qualification, then you discover that this doesn't fit you, don't hesitate to change it. Nothing is lost, you have formal qualifications, and because you may discover your real talents later.
Whether this be at the age of 30, 40, it shouldn't matter. Yeah.
There are people like that who completely changed their, today, this morning, the way, again, being a researcher, before I came for the program, after I spoke to quite a few people I know who think that they have chosen the wrong thing. So I asked them, what should I tell them? So one of them told me, there's one top level army officer, very high ranking, now migrated to Italy. He's doing a very menial job, but he's very happy. He has said, I'm free now, I have enough money. So that's him. So that's fine, So the important thing is, whatever you do, you have a goal. Always knowing you may succeed it straight away, or you may need to fall back, alternative option, plan B. But you never lose sight of what you want to do. It might take 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, or 20 years. You don't forget. So that's very important. I think what our younger generation need, they will learn things anyway. There is internet, there is this, that. I think people should be supported in the process of decision making. How to make a decision, how to make an informed decision, how to make an informed decision or a choice about what they do in future, not to be deceived by advertisements, or because again the other good and bad thing, we have a brain, the brain develops over time. Until about the age of 24, the decision making is done by a brainstem structure called amygdala. That decision making is at times emotional, aggressive, short-sighted until 24. After 24, the decision making process comes to the frontal lobe, where people get the ability to think critically, make complex decision making. That's why sometimes, now even me thinking back, I may not have done certain things which I did at the age of 18 now.
No, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because my complex decision making is now frontal lobe, not amygdala. So when you are a younger person, you may be tempted to choose, no, this is what I want to do. Don't listen to parents. Don't, no, this is me, this is what I want. You should never do that. Emotional regulation, we know that. So the parents should learn that children would jump into such a thing. They should understand and support them for emotional regulation. They say, no, I want to do this, I'm not going to go anywhere. They will demand. It's a matter of understanding them, supporting them, and they should know that they have limited knowledge, limited experience. Experience comes with maturity.
Yeah.
So always it's a bi-directional thing. So generally the great majority of parents would love them, children, they want the best for them, they would do anything for them. So therefore it's a partnership. So the parents should discover the talents, abilities existing in the child. 5 fingers are different. If you have 5 children, don't expect them all to be thumbs. They're different. So respect them for who they are. Support them in the decision making. Give more information when they come to A levels or choosing a degree or even choosing a country. Do research. Research in the sense, go to the internet, go to the website. And again, if you are thinking of a profession or a job, my other strongest advice to people who do A level, go and get some work experience.
Yes.
If you want to become a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist or a physiotherapist, within the medical services there are a lot of disciplines, many, you go and work. Or somebody who wants to be a doctor might think, no, I'm good at becoming a nurse. Or go to a factory if you want to become an engineer, or you want to be a farmer. You go and spend some time and learn the pros and cons. You might consolidate what you want to do, or you might change. You might decide, no, this is not for me. I can't do this. I don't want this. So that is very, very important. Like you learn from the books, earn the degree, and go and get some good work experience. And again, for youth, my strongest advice from my life and being an academic and everything, never make crucial decisions in life when you are emotionally involved. Don't be too emotional using your amygdala too much. Think about it. Always revisit your decision. Get a piece of paper, make into four squares. What the advantage of doing this? What is the advantages of not doing it? What is the disadvantages of doing it? What is the disadvantages of not doing it? And think about it and leave it to settle. Don't jump into conclusions. And even if you halfway through your A levels, you think, I'm doing commerce, this is not my life, I want to do something else. Discuss with your parents, that's okay. Even after your A levels. I'll give you a good example. Recently somebody consulted me. The person applied to a university in Sri Lanka wanting to do literature and English, but the second choice below it was speech and language therapy. Later that person realized the second was the right choice for her, not the first one. So fortunately she appealed, and I supported her appeal in the right way, and she was successful. So things change. So always learn to be part of learning in life. You have to face the reality. You have to face a challenge. It's not an easy life. Life is challenging. It's not a red carpet. You have to earn it. For some it's easy, for some it's difficult. It's always collective as well. You may take the decision, you may live your own life, but you can't live alone. I always say, in my talks, Gamburu Muhuda ha satane tani minisa jayaganunata in a sort of
Oh my God.
so, you know, so
Yeah.
it's a collective thing. So be broad-minded, think, be wise, be flexible, listen to other people.
See, Professor, the problem there is, if you take conventionally from your generation, it was very limited. Information and resources to find out exactly certain things and do research was very limited. So you might have had to go and get mentorship from one particular person who knows exactly what the career is and gives you the right path. But today, you have thousands of people who are apparently mentors who know exactly they're doing the right thing for you. And on the internet, you've got so much resources. So it's hard to pick and choose and know, okay, this is the right thing for you. So how do you really navigate that research? How do you really research?
Mentoring is not advising somebody to do this, that, you know, showing them the pathway. You have to do it. That's why I said first you have to discover yourself. You think very carefully, what do I want in my life? How do I want to see myself in 5 years, 10 years time? Happily married mom, a professional, not being married? That's a choice again. First, and then you think, okay, this is what I want. What are the skill set I need? Do I have that? Or do I need to earn it? What are the resources I would need to achieve that goal? This is where I stand. So you read a lot, but you have to be very careful. You mentioned about information. You have to be careful about misinformation and disinformation as well.
Exactly.
And listen, read, but make your informed decision. That's what I mean. Sometimes decision making in life can go wrong. Never be frightened to accept that your decision making was wrong.
I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people to accept. This is the wrong thing I decided on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be honest about it. Review. So that's why I always say, I use in singular term, sometimes as a nation, what we do is to manage your daily meal. Edavela kana type. You don't think, but you have to always revisit. When we drive a car, we have got two side mirrors and front mirror, we always look back. So anybody can, you know, tune that mindset into their lives. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, think about your past, what I have done, what I have done wrong. Reflect yourself, self-criticism. How can I minimize my weaknesses? There's no person who is perfect in this world. What we can do is to minimize our weaknesses, maximize our strengths, be open, listen to other people, be mindful, but take your decision thinking beyond yourself, thinking, doing good, no harm, that type of thing. And then navigating through that life. And as I told you, that's the success, it's not the destination. While you go, you achieve success throughout in your life, earning friends. I think that's my bit of I wouldn't call it advice, but it's sharing of my life experience and what I have gained. I would certainly like to reiterate, the way I thought at the age of 18 is quite different. The way I thought as a medical student
is very different as well.
I was a trade union, student union activist, got into politics, all that is there, but be mature.
Yeah.
Be mature. We have a lot of experience. So sharing that experience is a service. So that's what exactly I have done. Think about what I have told critically. You may agree, disagree. What I would like to see from our younger generation is taller trees growing taller than me.
Taller trees are growing taller than you. Yeah.
We have that great potential as a nation. Yes. Be proud of being a Sri Lankan. We have a lot of, so don't get into negative mindset. That's, as a psychiatrist, I want to say, a lot of people think, I can't do it, I'm not good at it, I'm useless.
Yeah.
No, think positively. Positive thinking will always generate. We need this younger generation to take care of our future.
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor. Honestly, it's been such a refreshing conversation as well to be having with you, because this is a very important conversation we need to have right now, because we have a lot of the youth that are actually watching it right now as well that wants to leave the country because they think there is better greener grass on the other end, but it's not quite the case. And thank you so much for that, of course. And this is an amazing, amazing one, because I really touch base on this very personally as well, because there's a lot of people really wondering, should I leave the country? Should I choose this academy as well? And those are exactly what we need to have as guidance. So thank you so much for doing this conversation. With this, of course, this is Gen XYZ. We'll come to you back with a different episode, with a different flavor and a different conversation right here, only on Other Derana 24. Don't forget, if you do miss out on an episode, we are available on youtube.com/Other Derana English. And with that, see you on a different episode.